Thank you,
Yeah,
Wendy.
now we are.
Thank you, Wendy. See, I need more than one person. So actually, that's a good place to start. So anyway, if you are just joining us, thank you so much for being here. I will keep on saying that every so often as everybody arrives. Yes, so today's event is geared towards SoulRemedi. SoulRemedi is an app that deals with, the way I would explain it, deals with helping us harmonize energies. I'm not going to speak to it very much because I don't have the the person who has invented this app is going to come in shortly. His name is Jazz. We have Wendy. So for those of you who are members of the private Facebook page, we have Wendy. You're familiar with Wendy. Wendy is my, well, she's my sidekick. Is that what I call Wendy? A sidekick. So she helps me very graciously with the Facebook page and with, well, pretty much anything that I do for you, or many things that I do for you. So hello, Wendy, and thank you for being here. And just a very quick note of how this this meeting came about. In a very recent past, I started to channel, and I'm currently channeling a lot more information that speaks to the idea of everything being energy and everything being frequency. So I think it was about week 2 or week 3, I started channeling this information, and all of a sudden we connected with my friend Jazz, who is the inventor. And we started talking about presenting this new app that he just invented. And so it's an example of how the universe brings things into our awareness when we're ready and we're on the same level. So as I started to talk about frequency, this app comes up, and it is to do with frequency and energy. So I just thought that's a beautiful marriage, so to speak. It kind of helps put things into well, into practicality. So is there anything else that I want to say before I let Jazz take over? I'm going to say what my guides just said. Don't forget to have fun. They say that every single time. I think it's going to be my motto. That's right. All right. So without further ado, again, thank you if you just joined. Thank you so much for being here. This is very exciting for me because we'll be doing a lot more of these things in various ways. So I'm very excited. All right, I'm going to bring on Jazz. Jazz, hello, and take it away.
Hello, Joanna. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for setting this all up. I appreciate it. And welcome everybody to this event. And I think from Joanna and my perspective, we've known each other for a long time. But this is our first time actually hosting a Zoom event, and given the current environmental situations that we have going on, this is the way we're going to be communicating for a bit, it seems. But the idea today is to have some fun. My intention is to share some knowledge and experience with you regarding energy science, and then hopefully to offer you a new perspective. And so I've got a little slide deck that we'll go through, kind of sharing all these experiences with you. Joanna and I kind of have a bit of a conversation going back and forth. And for sure, we want to hear some questions from you guys as we go through it. I think maybe the best way to do that is if you can just maybe jot some notes down. For that, we'll get through the presentation, then we'll have some time towards the end to answer questions you may have. Sound good? Everybody's good with that? Excited? All right. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Let's give me 1 sec here. Okay, Joanne, you can just give me the green light. You got the...
Oh.
You can see it?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, perfect. Wow,
can you
welcome.
Guys see it? Can you guys see it? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Yes, okay, good.
Okay, fabulous, great. Welcome to SoulRemedi, everybody. So I'm just gonna kind of go through just a little bit of a, little bit of story, a little bit of adventure with you guys, kind of what's going on. So my wife, Walla, and myself, we're both Feng Shui masters, but that's not where we started. I'm a chartered accountant by trade. Been in the business side of things 30 plus years. I was a partner at KPMG, had tons of audit clients, great clients. But now I'm in the private industry, and really my focus in the private industry is strategic management. So I go in as CFOs, CEOs in companies, help them raise funds, help them recruit top talent in the C-level suite of people, train them, coach them, mentor them. That's kind of the space that, if you want my day-to-day job, is. Walla, she's born in Beirut, came to Canada as a refugee. She's been a management consultant for the last 15 plus years, and primarily in the entertainment and hospitality area. If I had to say, if I describe the difference between and she's a life coach as well, but if I had to describe the difference between kind of Walla and myself, Walla's connected. She is like Joanna. She is very connected to the universe, and things flow to her very nicely. I have to kind of work on that a little bit more. I'm kind of like that analytical left brain thinker, and she's very much free flowing. So how Feng Shui kind of came to us was probably about 10 plus years ago. My sister invited a Feng Shui grandmaster to her house to kind of get some Feng Shui energy advice. And then we invited that grandmaster over to our house, and he came in and he was quite surprised that everything in there seemed to be fine. And it's not because we knew any of these science principles or anything, it's just because Walla intuitively knew what to do and how the energy felt. And it's kind of like when you walk into a room, you just feel really good, or you walk into a room and you like shiver and you feel good or bad. That's just the energy that's floating in that room. But Walla was very good at just naturally doing that. So we decided that this was something that we wanted to learn. So we actually went to Malaysia several times. I got trained by the #1 Feng Shui grandmaster in the world. Her name is Lillian Tu. You can look it up. She was a Harvard MBA graduate, went back to China, was the first female CEO of a Chinese bank, and realized there that everybody was using energy principles. And so she wanted to learn more about it, and she did that, and then she created her own little empire called World of Feng Shui. And she teaches, and she does a whole bunch of seminars, and I think she has thousands upon thousands of people that come to her annual seminar. So we went there and got trained by her and learned all of this energy science. And so what Walla and I did is, when we came back, we basically, and excuse my language, because every now and then I will drop a little bad word here and there, and I blame that on Walla. She has more of a potty mouth than I do. But we tested the crap out of this science and the theory, because we wanted to know, like, what is it going on? How is it working? How does it impact our life? And with that, we were like, wow, it made such a magnificent change in our life. We actually need to teach this and tell other people about it. So kind of where I want to go from here is kind of one of my favorite quotes, and it's from Albert Einstein. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. So Joanna, you and I have talked about this several times, that this universe is a vibrational universe. So if you break everything down, myself or your table or whatever it may be, when you get down to the fundamental roots of it, it's vibrational energy. And energy, that means everything is connected. It's just understanding what that connection is. Energy is constantly flowing, and it's predictable in nature. So understanding how it moves, understanding its predictability, knowing that, you can actually plan accordingly. And we'll talk about this in a bit, but just tapping in to the right energy is what we want everybody to do. The energy exists. It's like plugging into a wall. That energy exists. We just plug our phone or our appliance into the wall, and we just expect it to be charged. Well, that energy in the universe exists. Now we just got to tap into it and make sure we're tapping into the right plug. Now, sometimes, you can feel like you're doing everything right, but still feeling stuck. So, the attitude, maybe it's not you, maybe it's your environment, that your environment itself has energy, has its own energy properties. Your house, your office has its own energy properties. So it should be supporting you, and you'll be surprised as to how many times that your energy or you're not tapping in to the right energy of your environment. And we'll kind of go through that and kind of give you some examples. And honestly, I can say that I didn't understand this concept truly till about 15 months ago. I'm going to predate that by 10 plus years ago. I went through, unfortunately, a pretty messy divorce, and Joanna knows the story that I kind of went through. But I kind of went into shutdown mode. I kind of shut off my emotions. I kind of just went into business mode and dealt everything from a business perspective. But the problem with that, and one of the things that I've learned over the last 15 months, is that how the universe communicates to you, its vibrations, how we interpret those vibrations is through emotions. When we are feeling good, we're connected, we're in alignment with source, or whatever you choose to call it. And when we're feeling bad, we're not in alignment with source, because your source is always coming from a place of love. And so if you're feeling good, you're in alignment. If you're not, it's telling you that you're not in alignment with source, and maybe you need to just rethink about the situation that you're in. I didn't understand that concept till about 15 months ago when I went down to Rhythmia, and Joanna's been down there with Walla, and Walla highly encouraged me to go down there. But that actually opened the door for me. It opened it a smidge to actually understand that the emotions that I need to deal with, that I had buried from that divorce that I went through, I need to actually have them come up and actually deal with it. But it's vibration. So for me, just learning to tap into that vibrations that exist, and everybody has this ability to tap into that vibration. It's there, it exists. It's just how good we interpret that. I shut off the valve. I recently opened it, and now imagine out of 15 years or whatever it was of having that tap closed, and I slowly start to open it, just the floodgates are coming through, and just and I'm trying to now learn to manage that. But that's been a magnificent learning and a challenging learning experience for me over a period of about a year and a half.
So for those, just 1 second, for those of you who heard the word rhythmia, like, what was that? Because I caught that. So what Jazz is talking about is attending let's call it, it's a healing, attending a healing event where he connected with a higher source, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yes. You use plant medicine, and if you kind of think about why they do that, as we kind of, and especially in kind of this environment that we live in, we're actually have so many mechanisms, so much resistance built in that we actually disconnect from source. There's so much things that we're taught in school, we're told to think a certain way, and we really need to get rid of that resistance and allow that connection to just have no filter. So when you do some of these things like plant medicine or something, and and this is what, when you go to India or go to Asia, they'll use marijuana or plant medicine like that to actually remove some of those filters so they can actually have a better connection. That in Rhythmia allowed me, I was there for a week, to have this connection with source that I had blocked off for a period of time. So, but that also told me through those discussions, I had a lot of healing, but also told me that I needed to do this. I needed to build this app, take my business knowledge of 30 plus years that I've had dealing with some of the top companies in the world, take that knowledge, but build it with the energy science and make it in a way that's really easy and user-friendly for everybody to understand. So if, Feng Shui is an Asian terminology. It's been around for 4,000 or 5,000 years. That was predated in India by another term called Vasta Schuster. So it's another way of thinking about energy science. In Europe, they call it geomancy. But in North America, because North America is so young, it's only several hundred years old, the only terminology that they're willing to accept here is environmental psychology. So how, and that's it, because anytime they think of Feng Shui or Vasta Schuster, all these other terminologies, you just think, it's a bunch of nonsense. So they use terminologies here that's more geared towards kind of the North American market. So if I was to tell you that there's a book out there that tells you when to plant seeds, when to sail, when to cut your hair, it's been around for hundreds of years, you can use it. People are, say to me, yeah, it's a bunch of, BS. Well, this is the book, The Farmer's Almanac. It's been around for a long, long time. People use it to know when to cut their hair. when to plant seeds, when to farm, when the tides are going to be high, when they're going to be low. All of these things exist in this Farmer's Almanac. But when I talk about it in relation to Feng Shui, or when people talk about it in relation to Feng Shui, that's those same energy principles, but yet from a Feng Shui perspective, that's the reaction I get. I get, oh, this is a bunch of woohoo, it's religious in nature, it's whatever, but it's not. It's actually science-based information. And what China did and what Asia did was just they wrapped it with the terminology that they were familiar with. That's all they've done. But what we did, so what Wal and I did was we've actually changed and kind of changed the terminology, because what we were finding was that that was a barrier to entry for people. People were having a hard time. As soon as we start talking about Feng Shui, Vasta Schuster, or something else, people are like, nah, no. But when we start reframing it, when we talk about consciously, energetically integrating with your environment, people are like, Then when we start to give them the examples that we did, then when we start to give them tools to use, and then they go out and apply it, the amount of calls that we're getting back, the amount of feedback that we're getting back is tell us more, show us more, show us more. So what we wanted to do is build an app that could actually just help people do that. So the same kind of expression, like now that we tell people about conscious energetic information, it's the same wow, but in a good way, as opposed to like, this is kind of crazy. So what we did was we actually combined kind of Feng Shui. We took the science that was behind Feng Shui, we took aspects of Vasta Shustra, and we took another terminology, and you can research this, it's called sacred geometry. Sacred geometry has been around for thousands of years. A lot of the ancient buildings are built using the principles of sacred geometry. So we've taken all these principles, combined it together, eliminated the foreign terminologies, because we know that if I mention to you Grand Duke or 5 killings or something like that, people are like, no. So we've taken those terminologies out and put it in a nice, easy to use everyday kind of tool that you can just have in your tool belt. So when you need it, it's there for you. How are we doing so far? We're okay? Thumbs up, we're good? People are like, okay, we'll continue on. Okay, so I want to talk about some concepts with you.
I was just saying, if there is any confusion, just jot some notes down, because we will be answering questions, like you'll get a chance to ask. So if something is not making sense, because I know he's throwing in a lot of stuff, and even with me knowing all this, it can be kind of tricky to grab. So just jot it down. All right? Okay, continue.
Yeah, and people often ask, well, why do we use kind of Feng Shui? And Feng Shui, out of all of the energetic science out there, is probably the youngest one, and it's kind of a little bit the more up-to-date and a little bit one that's been tested quite a bit more. So we use that as the base of kind of the app and the information and the tools that we have developed. And so now I'm kind of going to go through the concepts with you. So we're at a 100,000 foot level when we're talking about this. There's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers to Feng Shui, but I want you to get a kind of a general idea, and I'm going to explain it. Part of my background, being a CPA, I've done a lot of teaching, I've done a lot of coaching and stuff. So I just like to explain it kind of through my rosy colored glasses and how I see this. And
tell people what CPA is, because they may not know.
Chartered professional accountant.
He's the left brainer, ladies and gentlemen. There is hope. There is hope.
So for me, it being very logical and very easy to use is very, very important. Because Walla can walk into a room, she doesn't need the app, she'll just tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. This tool helps me to get to the same place she does. And I'm just because I'm just a little more analytical than she is. So I should say, we break this down into 3 buckets. So there's the universe, there's the stars, the planets, all that exists out there. We know it exists, so that's one bucket. Then there's you, how good you are. The law of attraction, what you put out there is what you're going to get back. So kind of that, fate. So what, if I put good things out, I'm going to get good things back to me. And then there's your environment, your house, your office. If I pick you from here and move you to another country or another location, that environment's going to have an impact on you. So there are things that we can do to understand that environment, and then how to connect to that environment. And remember, everything is vibrational in nature, so everything has an energy associated with it. It's understanding what that energy is and how do we connect to it. So 2 out of these 3 buckets we can control. We can control how good we are what we put out to the universe, and we can control how we connect to our environment. And then you got the universe itself, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. So high level, we got these 3 buckets that we play in, and we're going to learn, there's a lot of tools out there kind of to deal with yourself, meditation tools. I find Mind Valley a very good tool to help, with different things regarding the brain and how to use the brain better. That's a really good tool. So tons and tons of tools out there on the personal side. On the environment side, not so much. These terminology exist, but people just haven't bought into them or don't understand them. So we're bringing it to you in a way that, hopefully just, will resonate with you a little bit better. Okay, so everybody's heard of Qi, energy, and you see that yin yang symbol. There's a balance. There's always a balance in it, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. And there's multiple types of energies that are out there. So it's understanding what those energies are. Each one of those energies is associated with an element, and we'll talk about those elements. And what we want to try to accomplish with the elements is a harmony amongst them, because not elements play nicely together. So understanding how they play together, we want to support, or we want to do something with the elements and the energy profile in that area. So we learn how to play with what energy elements we introduce into a certain area. And then there's your personal self. We want balance and harmony for ourselves. So those are the 3 buckets on this level that we play with. So when we talk about the yin and the yang, just think of it as, you can't have one without the other. You can't have night without day, female, male. Can't have black without white, cold without hot, water, fire. You have these. They're not opposing each other. They're just opposite, but you need them both to exist. So that's why there's this balance. You always have a balance in the energy. There's not good or bad energy. That's kind of a human trait that we give to it. There's positive and negative. There are certain energy profiles that are positive in nature that you want to enhance, and there are certain negative energy profiles that are negative and that you want to suppress. Understanding what they are and where they are, then we start to play with that. So I talk about the elements. So water, wood, fire, earth, metal, those are the elements. And this is a simple snapshot of how the elements play with each other. So that there's a whole story. And when you get into Feng Shui and you learn about how Feng Shui was created, there's a whole story behind how it was created. But simply, we go through this, wood burns fire, right? So fire, we know wood, fire will consume wood. We know that, right? Fire actually will take and regenerate the earth. Earth is where you're going to find metal. Metal holds water. Water feeds, water will help wood to grow. So that's the blue cycle that's going on. So that blue cycle is a supportive cycle. So water will support wood. So if we have a positive element, so let's say in the center of your home, the element that's associated there is associated with wood, and it's a positive element this year. So what we would want to do is actually introduce elements associated with wood or water, because we're actually trying to enhance that energy. But sometimes we will put candles in a center of a table because aesthetically it looks good. But in that case, that fire energy, because candles are associated with fire, you're actually reducing that energy of the wood. And that's not what you want to accomplish. So you actually want to put something else, like a vase of water or something in there instead of a candle. But unless you know, you're just going to do something that aesthetically, you may do something, right, that aesthetically looks good, but energetically may actually be doing the opposite of what you're intending. So when we get into this, and what the app does is it tells you in each of the areas what the elements are, and then it gives you a recommendation as to what to do in that area. So this is a really easy way of saying, okay, you know what, it's a wood element, it's a good element, I need to introduce water element into it. But if it's if the wood element was not a good one, it was an inauspicious element, I would then need to put an element of fire. So the red cycle is called the exhaustive cycle. So I'm actually trying to exhaust that energy or suppress that energy because it's not the energy that I want. The other one is the destructive cycle. It's very rarely used. We don't want to completely eliminate elements, but they are we generally want to suppress them or enhance them. But this is something that I use because I always forgot. So for me, I just said I needed a quick, easy, something that I could look at that I can know, oh, yes, right, this is exactly what I need to do. On the personal side, so in energetic principles, everybody comes with 4 good directions. So, and we're talking about the north, south, east, west, and the cardinal and the non-cardinal directions here. So out of the 8 directions, you're going to have 4 based on your energy profile, and we use that off of your birth date, 4 directions that are good for you: wealth, health, love, growth. And you're going to have 4 challenging directions for you: unluckily, negative influence, relationship harm, and total loss. And when I mean total loss, like it's affecting your relationships, your business, whatever. It's, and I'll go through an example of this in a minute. But so for me, again, just being busy with day-to-day stuff, I would always forget my good directions and always forget my bad directions. So we made it really, yes.
Sorry, let me just ask real quick. So are these the good directions and the challenging directions? Are these the same for everybody, or might these change? I mean, I know the directions are different for everybody, but are these the categories that show up?
Great question. Yes, these are the categories that show up. So these are the 8. So on the 8 categories, this is how they're labeled. Wealth is they've categorized as kind of your number 1 best direction, then health and love, then growth. And then total loss being, out of the 8 directions, your worst direction. So these are the same for everybody, but my wealth direction is north, yours may be south. So the app itself will tell you exactly where you need, what the energy profiles are for you, and then you tap into those directions that you need to tap into.
Great, thank you.
No, great question, thank you. So far, okay, we talked about the 3 buckets at the high level: the universe, the environment, the people. Then we talked a little bit about the chi, talked about the elements, how, the chi has a bunch of different energy profiles. There's the elements that are associated with those. And then we get into the personal side, having good and bad or challenging directions. Okay, thumbs up so far, we're okay? No one's lost yet, we're okay, all right, perfect, love it. Now this one, the actual terminology for this one is called the Bagwer Chart, but I call it the tic-tac-toe box. Easier for me to memorize. 9 grids. So what they found over the thousands of years that they did this is that when you look at a floor plan of a house or an office, the best designed house is square, because it has these 9 aspirations in them. So in the north will always be the career. In the east will be the superior mentors. In the south will be fame. In the west will be the creativity. And then you have the non-cardinal directions that have helpful friends, knowledge sector, wealth sector, and relationship sector. So they always exist, and they're going to always exist in those areas. Each one of those elements, like career, is always associated with water. Fame is always associated with fire, and so you can see that on the graph. Understanding those things, we use that as a tool to know that, okay, in the career sector, it's a water element. What do I need to do in that area if I need to tap into that? If I'm not happy with my career and I want to have something new, what should I do? So I'm going to do something in that area that's going to boost my career. So let me give you kind of I got 2 examples kind of for this one. So one is my brother. My brother is the medical doctor, and he's he built the house probably about let's say 10 years ago. Had one of the top designers build the house, and if you walk into that house, it is aesthetically beautiful. Unfortunately, it's energetically shit. Excuse my language again. So what happened? So everybody, and he's married and he has 4 girls. Everybody in that house was sick. So my sister-in-law came up to myself and she goes, can you kind of help us,
Wait a second. He's a doctor and everybody was sick? That's an interesting.
Yeah, he's a medical doctor. He's a GP, and everybody's sick in that house.
Interesting.
But yeah, so you can imagine now that you got a medical doctor who's trying to figure out everything clinically and what he's been taught as to why everybody's sick, but can't figure out why everybody's sick in that house. So then my sister-in-law comes and said, can you kind of take a look at what's going on? So he said, okay, give everybody's birth dates and give us a floor plan of the house. That's the starting point that we're going to look at. So remember that we talked about the good directions and the bad directions. So we start off with the primary person of the house, and it could be the male or female. In this case, it happens to be my brother in the house as be the primary person in the house. His facing direction of the house. So what I mean by that is, if you're inside your house at your front door looking out. That's the facing direction. So my house itself faces south. So if I'm inside looking outside my front door, that's the facing direction. That happens to be a good direction for me. For my brother, that was his total loss direction. So remember when I talked about a little bit earlier that when we talk about total loss, we really mean total loss. We talk about relationships and business and all of that kind of stuff. So we took a look at this, and then we gave the floor plans and the birth date over to the grandmaster that we were working with, and he never met my brother, never met any of his family, and he just looked at it, threw it down. He's been practicing for 40 years, and he just says, "I'm surprised the breadwinner's not dead." And 2 weeks later, my brother went in for 80 and 90% blockage in his arteries. So if you take a look at his house, so now we know him. So imagine when you are, when you move anything, so I'm moving my phone to kind of see that, you're actually moving energy, right? The simple concept of activating energy. So when he's moving, when he's going into his house, which is south facing, which is total loss direction, he's activating his total loss direction every single time. Every time he goes in and out of his house, he's activating his total loss direction. On top of that, his house is not square. His house is actually missing, so it fills 8 of the boxes. The box that is missing is this bottom right-hand box that says helpful friends. That also happens to be the male sector box. So his house, not only is a total loss direction for him, but the house itself doesn't support males. So he has 2 things that are going against him. Okay, so now you know that.
And he has 3 or 4 girls and a wife, I'm assuming.
4 girls and a wife, right? So now the house as the breadwinner, he's total loss direction and it doesn't support a male. So it's like, holy crap. Okay, so that energetically kind of explains why he's not feeling well, why he's not doing well. Why is everybody else in the house sick? Because everybody in the house is sick. And you know, his girls ranged, you know, at that time we were doing this probably from 10 years old to 20 years old, some type of gap like that. Well, think of your front door as your mouth. So if you eat good food, you feel good. If you eat shitty food, you feel shitty. So there's the front door. On top of that, there's a washroom. Below that is a washroom. Well, what does washroom do? It eliminates waste. That energy that's coming into his house is contaminated. That whole house is contaminated.
So it's all toxins.
Sorry?
It's all toxins.
The whole house is toxic. And it's just because energetically, the way the energy is coming in through that front door, and because the washroom's in there and the washroom eliminates waste, which is toxic stuff, everything is contaminated. So that whole house is contaminated. Now, think of this. This is one of the top designers in Vancouver that designed this house. Aesthetically beautiful, energetically shit. So that's one example. I promised 2.
So can I just ask a question on that particular example?
Please, please.
Because I know somebody else is going to ask it. What if somebody's house is not square?
Well, this is where, and generally, and you know, and we find there's tons of houses that are not square. And we find especially these condos that are being designed now, wacky configurations, not square, big arcs in them. So that means you're missing a sector. So in this case, my brother's house was missing the male sector. There are things that we can do energetically to try and boost that up.
Without rebuilding a house, I'm assuming.
But there are some cases, and we have done this,
yeah,
where we will tell people, now, because this house is a total loss for my brother, and he had no other entrance into the house, the recommendation for him was to move. Because there was no other entrance. Regardless of whether we fixed that male sector of the house, he was still entering into his total loss direction. So for him, the recommendation was to move, but he's like me, very analytical, very logical, way more logical than I am, and he's still there.
Right.
And he's still all sick.
So Jazz, there's another question. Oh, sorry, Joanna, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So the question is, how do you balance things when there are 2 people living in the same house? Like, what if their directions are opposites?
And you know, Wall and I, that's exactly what we are. We are my 4 good directions are her 4 bad directions. And so we have to balance it out. So we look at the energy profile for both of us, and we look at it on a monthly basis, and we will find areas in there that we can balance it out for the both of us. But that takes some ingenuity, some thinking outside the box, some doing things a little bit differently. But yeah, we run into that all the time. So Wall and I are like that. She is all my good directions are her bad directions. So, but then, there's as I mentioned, there's layers to this. We then start digging down into the layers to see what we can do to make sure that we do have a balance in there.
It's not unlike digging into the psyche, layers and layers and layers, which is my favorite thing to do. It's everything is multidimensional, right?
Multidimensional, yeah. So I have another example. I did promise another example. So I had a buddy of mine that I won't say his name, but was doing extremely well, like very, very financially super well, and he's providing, I'll just call it widgets, very high-end widgets to developers, just doing super, super well. But his house is L-shaped, so his house only covered like this relationship, creativity, help for friends, career opportunities, maybe the knowledge. Well, it was the L-shape. I don't know if it was exactly those ones that it had. Actually, I think it was fame, wealth, superiors, knowledge were the ones that he had. He was missing the relationship, creativity, help for friends, career, and family. But he's doing super well. And I asked, well, I go, like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how can this be? He seems to be doing so well. And she goes, just wait and see. We found out later that still going through divorce. He had drug addiction problems. And then when we actually put his house over this map and actually kind of looked at the energy profile, I was like, yeah, it all supported the fact that though his wealth and his career was working, the other stuff was not supported, and just energetically could not last in there. So it was just an interesting thing, when we go into that, when we get people's birth dates and when we get people's floor charts and put it over this, we can actually tell you a story of energetically what's going on in that house with the people that are in that house. And that is a service that we actually do. That is a consultation that we do offer to people. But again, this app is designed for people to just apply the simple tools, in a simple manner, and not have to keep asking the same questions over and over again.
So do you want questions in real time since we're on the slide and people are asking them, or do you want to just wait on the back end?
I can, sure, if there's something in specific, yeah.
So how do you figure out who is the primary person in the house? Like if you were going to say design a house for, I mean, you guys said you're opposites.
Yeah, we are. Generally, there's a couple of different things, who's, the primary breadwinner is kind of one. Kind of the one that's supporting the family, because I don't want to get into the concept of, it's just, I'm going to say it's what it is and how it was interpreted. It's not necessarily something that I kind of, it's the breadwinner is how they used to go off of it, the person that was supporting the house, because everybody plays a different role now. We know how important each of those roles are, but generally that's the way that they established it.
What if you have two? Okay, what if you have two people to the breadwinners?
Then we balance it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned monthly, you guys review it. So monthly is the cadence that you review the energy shifts?
Yeah, so understanding that energy moves every second. Every moment that we're going on, energy is moving. So, and I'm going to walk through this as I go through the app. We generally, what we will do is, because the energy cycle, Feng Shui was done off of the lunar calendar. And the reason for that is, out of all the celestial bodies, the moon has the biggest impact on this earth. We know by the tides that move back and forth. We know by, we're 70% emotion, 70% water. So we know that emotionally we're affected by the moon as well. So we go off of the energy cycle of the moon. So, and, there's the cycle of 14 and a half days for new moon and full moon. So we use that kind of cycle and tap into that cycle to figure out the energies that are changing, because every month it's going to change. So understanding where these energy profiles are changing will then give you those recommendations to tell you what to do. So kind of how I wanted this app, how I envision this app to be is that, when I go to a doctor, I tell my doctor the things that are going on, and he says, well, you know what, you got to, this is what you need to take. I generally don't question, I kind of rely on him to give me that information. He's done all the research, at least I hope he has, and he's given me his best recommendation. This is all based off of science, hasn't existed around for 5,000 years. We've just put it in a way that you can just tap into it Sure, by sure, you can research and go into all the stuff and find the supporting documentation, but it's just an easy way for you to integrate. And what we always tell people is go try it, test it, do little things, test it, get some wins under your belt. And then the more you practice it, the more wins you'll have, and the more comfortable you will be with this, and you just continue to build and build and build.
Can I follow up on that, please, with a question? So this is from Aaron. Just mentioned that he and his wife review monthly and make adjustments accordingly. Just curious how often energy shifts need to be taken into consideration. Great question.
Yeah, it shifts all the time, but we recommend monthly.
Okay.
Yeah. So the annual there's the annual. So there is the annual energy profile for the year, which is kind of the baseline for the year. So for 2020, and it's whatever. So if you take a look at this family chart, this family core, the yellow box, whatever energy profile goes into that box is the ruling energy profile for the year. So for 2020, it was a nasty one. It was a negative energy profile that sat in that year, which meant that 2020 was going to be a challenging year for everybody.
Oh, that's a surprise. Isn't that a surprise for everybody?
So I think everybody be kind of just like 2020, is coming back every now and then to keep slapping us and doing something.
Not that I'm making fun of it, just FYI.
No, God bless you. We live with you and we have the opportunity. But if you have this knowledge, then you plan, right? So you know what's going on. You can plan a little bit better. You can be a little bit more patient, a little bit more calm, and you can ride out kind of this year. Because even for myself, some years are going to be energetically going to be better for me than other years. So knowing that I may have a challenging year, I go into it and approach it differently. So I try to minimize the areas. I knew this year was going to be a challenging year for me health-wise. So I just made sure I did things, ate properly, did all these things to minimize that energetic impact that was going to have on me.
Right. So it's not about eliminating. It's about how to better work with an energy that we are surrounded by.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Understanding where it is and understanding then what we need to do with it. And again, where we can suppress, the first thing to do is, what we'll say is we suppress the negative energy where we can, then enhance the positive. That's generally the format that we'll kind of go through. But yeah, we give kind of the monthly recommendations. So for the month of November, so for those that have the app downloaded, they know we give the monthly recommendations for November. And I'll go through an example of that.
I just want to make a comment, which might sound really funny, but I don't know, for some reason, well, they did say, don't remember to have fun. Just so that we're clear, things are changing all the time and everything has layers. And as you were talking about the monthly, the yearly, it's kind of no different than when I used to do 6-month readings that would give the energy for 6 months. But then every month I would also give another energy reading, and then it came into weekly. So it's all layers, right? But just so that we're clear, we're not saying that every month we have to go and switch houses. Obviously, we're not saying that.
No. Right? We're not asking you to switch house. We're actually telling you what to do in your house.
Yes. How to work with the energies.
Inside, yes. We're not expecting everybody to be able. Now, there are those people that have the, let's say, the financial capacity to have different houses. So you'll find, and Trump does this, he will live in certain houses in certain years versus other ones, because he knows energetically one house is better than the other. It's tapping in one time of year, that house is actually tapping into a different energy than his other house. So, and Trump, there's a quote by Trump that says he doesn't understand Feng Shui, but he knows it makes some money.
Interesting. That's a whole different subject, but that's interesting.
There's so many movie stars, people in that industry that use Feng Shui. HSBC, Starbucks, MasterCard, McDonald's, Citibank, Manulife, all use it. They use it as to, in the corporate offices, they use it when to launch products because they want to know when's the best time to tap into launching things. So tons and tons of people use it. This knowledge has existed for 5,000 years. It's just kind of been just suppressed, or people just don't believe it, or whatever it may be. And it's only now, like even meditation in North America is only starting in the last 10 years to become popular, and people are actually realizing how beneficial that is to it. So, and this is stuff that's existed and been practiced in Europe and Asia and the Middle East and whatever for it hasn't stopped since they started thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago.
It's really ancient knowledge.
It's absolutely ancient knowledge.
Yeah,
and we're just trying to wrap it with a different wrapper so people can just
with the 20th century twist. With the 20th century twist.
20th century twist to it, and just they can digest it, test it, have some fun with it, and go out. So for us, Wall and I, like we said, we tested and tested and tested. We actually, Wall was getting so many calls at some point in time because she's telling people what to do, and she blurted out that what the Feng Shui. And that was actually the name of our company initially, was What the Feng Shui, but over time we've kind of merged it over to SoulRemedi. She has her home business that she runs, and you know this, Joanna. She has Remedy Wellness, which is kind of holistic approach to the body. So she deals with the body kind of inside and out. And a lot of people go to her initially, let's say they have an acne problem. They say, oh my God, I have an acne problem, that kind of stuff. And what people don't realize is your skin being your largest organ, by the time it's got to your skin, the damage is already done on the inside. Your gut is actually your second brain, or some people call it your first brain. That microbiome that exists in there is so important. And so having a healthy gut, so she goes about by treating that first, giving that education, treating that, and by virtue of doing that, and then obviously offering skincare products and stuff, then people start to feel better. When they feel better, they start to look better, and then miraculously all their acne or whatever their stuff goes away. But so she deals with kind of the holistic body stuff. SoulRemedi deals with how you take your body and integrate it into your environment. So there's sister companies, and we work together, obviously in unison. She's also a Feng Shui master. She does these things as much as I do, and we just support each other as we kind of go through this. So that's kind of the so those are the high level concepts. So just remember, we started off with kind of the buckets: the universe, the environment, people. 2 out of those 3 buckets we can control. Then we have chi, which is the energy, yin yang, hot, cold, all that kind of stuff. Then we have the elements. Just like here, you can see, each one of these energy profiles has an element associated with it. Then you have your personal side, which is, what you put out is what you're going to get back, right? So those are the kind of layers that work. And then we have this, I call it the tic-tac-toe buck. I'm probably offending so many Feng Shui masters out there by saying that, but we can call it the box of aspirations if you like. I just think it's just an easy way for me to memorize 9 grids and where all the things line up in those grids. Those are the kind of the tools that we're going to start with, because remember, there's layers and we don't need to go any deeper than that. But we've taken all this information, now put this into the app. So I'm going to actually walk you through now, kind of, if you signed up for the app, how to use these tools. Is it okay?
As you're going through it, I'm getting pinged. Share the example with your son.
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I promise. It's on my. I promise. It's on my list.
Because that's fascinating. That's this being put to work, and it actually you see results. That's the, because I don't know about you guys, and I like to see results. 3 or 4 slides.
Yeah, that's in about 3 or 4 slides.
Yeah.
So okay, so out of this birth SoulRemedi. So and we just call it Better Life by Design. You're designing your own life that you want. You get to choose through this process. You get to choose what you want to do. Everything you have the option to do what you need to do, and if you have the right tools, you're just going to use that to plug into the energy that exists out there. But it's just understanding where it is and what to do.
I'm just going to jump in very quickly. Denise, thank you for mentioning this. Somebody else has emailed me a few times. So it is currently only supported by iPhone, but it will be supported by other platforms in the new year.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you don't have an iPhone, an Apple device, it will be supported by whatever you have. Yeah.
I apologize, but it is coming. Yes. Great question. Okay, so when you download the app, it's called SoulRemedi. You can get it from iOS, from the App Store, and yes, we will get it to Android soon. You just sign in and register, and what you're going to get is this homepage. So this is my homepage. So hi, Jazz, and these are the tabs that you're going to see up there. You're going to see, the monthly energy recommendations, yearly recommendations, the element cycle, the calendar, and the relationship compatibility, and some tabs down below. So I'm just going to walk you through kind of what you would expect to have in this. So on that first tab, if you slide that blue icon across, because again, so for me, I would always forget my good directions, everything. And so I needed an easy way for me to remember. So I slide that across, and I get my personality profile with a bunch of tabs going across the top. So the first one is my personality. So I was born in the year of Rooster. So, going back 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, language was not big, but symbolism was massive. right? Pictures. When I say the word house to you, what comes to mind? It's not the letters HOUSE. It's a picture of a house. Your mind, your brain thinks in imagery. So symbolism and imagery is very, very important. It's how we're triggered. It's how it's when you vibrations. All those vibrations are even a picture. When you see it, it creates an emotion. When you hear music, it creates an emotion. All of that stuff is just vibrational energy that we're tapping into. So back then, what they did was they if people know the symbols, the rooster, the dog, the pig, the rat, the ox, the tiger, rabbit, snake, dragon, horse, goat, monkey, and the rooster. Those are the 12 animals. And depending upon the year that you're born, using the lunar cycle, because some people in January will flip over to a previous year, you're going to be given, you're associated with an animal. So why that animal? So what they found over 4,000 or 5,000 years is that animal characteristic generally represents those individuals that are born in that year. So I'm a rooster. So when I hit rooster and I hit the little icon button on the rooster, it tells me that rooster is the most misunderstood and eccentric of all animals. We are. We're outwardly self-assured, aggressive, but at heart we're conservative and old-fashioned. We're cute, we're neat, we're meticulous, we're organized, decisive, upright. But but we do love to argue. It's just our nature. So roosters generally. So when you think about a rooster, those characteristics of a rooster, wake up early, bright and up early. They're cocky. They want to be out in front of people. That was the general characteristics of a rooster, and that is me. That's who I am. I generally have those characteristics. But depending on the year you're born, and Joanne, I think you're a dog, right? Yeah. So your loyalty, those things that you associate yourself with the characteristics of a dog. Loyalty. When you think of an ox is a large animal, and they're generally, once they have their position, they're hard to move. So you can think of them as being stubborn or something, but they're generally hard to move off of their position. So these characteristics represent these different animals that exist. So these animals, understanding what the characteristics are, and understanding not all animals play well together. And some animals play really well together. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But on this personality profile, if you just run down, now I'm a rooster. The element of a rooster is metal. So the rooster's actual natural element is metal. So it's good to know that, because when I plan to do things, I need to know what my natural element is. But I was born in the year of Earth. So the element that ruled that year was Earth. Luckily, the metal and Earth, when you go back to that element chart, actually support each other, which is great. There are times that, could be metal and could have another metal, it could be metal, could have another, an element that is in disharmony with it. So it's just understanding these things. The pan, or what's called a Kuan number in Feng Shui terminology, is just your number that we use to generate a lot of this information. The time of the rooster for me is 5 to 7 p.m. So I know that that's my time. That's the time. If I want to do anything, I'm going to tap into that time. If I want to sign a contract, I'm going to do it at a time that's favorable to me. So 5 to 7. And the direction that I face, where my animal sits, is in the west. Every animal sits in a certain direction, but understanding those things is important. The next tab, when we kind of go through, is the direction tab. So remember when we talked about the 4 good directions and 4 bad directions. So for me, north is my best direction. Then there's south, then east and southeast. Then I get into my unlucky directions, and I can just scroll up. But another easy way that we designed is, if you just swipe up, you get the compass. So here for me, I can see that east, southeast, south is great for me, but southwest, west, northwest is not great for me. So I want to make sure that I want to tap into my good directions, the energy that supports me. So the example that Joanna, you were referring to, was my son. So when I started to teach my son about energy principles and stuff, and he downloaded the app, and he works for a telecommunications company here by name of TELUS, and he's out doing his sales, and it's part commission based. So once he started tapping in to his best directions, his sales went up 200 to 300%, just by tapping into his good direction.
Can you define what tapping means in his case?
In that direction. So for me, in this case, I want to make sure that I would be facing north, or facing one of my green directions, east, southeast, or south, tapping in. For me, if I want to tap into my wealth, I want to be facing north. If I want to tap into my health direction, I want to be facing south. But sometimes north may not be available for me. So I just want to tap into one of my good directions, so I know. So when I go into meetings, I arrive early. I bring out my app, figure out what direction is going to be most suitable for me, and I choose that. And if I can't, because all the chairs were taken, I'll just do the best I can, and I'll I'll angle myself as best I can to face the direction that I need to, so I can tap into that energy. Remember, this energy exists. It's there. It's gonna you're either tapping into it. You're gonna tap into it one way or the other. The question is, are you tapping into your good directions, or are you tapping into your challenging directions? So tap into the ones that are going to support you, that are going to give you all the power that you need. So I use it all the time. My son uses it all the time. He's had great success with it in his business. So it's just an easy way to swipe it up. You got your compass, sit in that direction, and just feel it. And you'll start to feel all the time. And if you actually, generally people in the house sit in the same place over and over. Babies are really actually good at this, because babies, if they'll actually move to their direction that just energetically just supports them, because they're still connected.
Right.
So energetically, and animals are the same way. Animals know intuitively, kind of where energetically the energy is flowing and what's better for them. So they generally will just do that. We as humans got all these filters. And
can I ask a question? Because I heard it in my head. So somebody's either thinking about it or wanting to ask it. Can you use this while you're dating? And if it's one of you that asked the question, let me know, because I tapped into somebody's head.
Yes, I know it's not you.
No, it's not me.
So just over Joanna and I go back a long way, but I met Joanna through John, and John and I, 20 years ago, it must be over 22 years ago, I know John. And so we've known each other for a long time. So anyway, so the directions, so if you hit the directions tab, this is what comes up. So this is an easy way for you to just tap into that good direction that just sit there for you. Other things on this tab are personality pairing. So this tells me who I'm compatible with. I'm compatible with an ox and snake. So remember when I said some animals play well together and some animals don't? This is a quick snapshot that says, who do I play well with? Who do I don't? So I'm compatible with a snake and ox. So generally snakes and ox will get along. We'll be able to do business together. It's just the best way to say it is effortless. It's just easy. It's just easy going in that relationship. Secret angel. So that's an interesting term. So secret angel, so for me, is a dragon. So someone that was born in the year of a dragon. So they'll pop into your life when you need them the most and push you in a direction that you need to go, that you may not otherwise know you need to go. So I'll give you my personal example. About 7 years ago, I was working for a company. I was their CFO and CEO, and I brought in a private equity firm and helped them raise 15 million US and help do all the strategy and strategic team and all of that, and train them on, had them all set to go. And it was a parking technology company. But this private equity firm in the States brought up their own CEO and said, okay, thanks for setting it up, but your job is done. Which was like a complete shock to me. And this guy that came in as a CEO, oh my God, not someone that I got along with, but he was a dragon. He actually did for me what I wasn't prepared to do for myself. What was waiting for me on the other side was something even more magnificent that I could even imagine, but I just wasn't prepared with my ego or whatever was going on to make that leap, that jump myself. But this dragon came in when I needed it and forced me to make a move that I just, sometimes the way I explain it is that the universe is always going to send you signals. And if it's not listening, it's going to slap you. In that case, it slapped me and said, you need to make a move. There's other things that are waiting for you. You're just not listening. And you need to listen, you need to move. So that's a good example of a secret angel. Not someone that I would want to go out to coffee with or have dinner with or be a friend with, but he actually helped me do something that I was not prepared to do myself. So they'll pop in and out kind of when, and the secret angel is all dependent on you. Yours is different than mine and vice versa. Conflicting animals. So this is someone that I'm, energetically likely going to conflict with. So the last business I was doing, I was helping one of the partners there. He's a rabbit. So I know that generally energetically we're going to butt, kind of just butt heads. So I went into that relationship completely different. Knowing that energetically we're just going to have that tendency to do that, I went into that relationship different and just created an entirely different relationship there. So what this allows you to do is it gives you the information that you know, it tells you who you're going to get along with, who you energetically may not get along with, and then just having that information, you can change and plan accordingly. Relationship booster, what is that? So
can I just ask a question that was pertaining to what you were just talking about? Who's the person? Oh my goodness. Anyway, the question was, what if you are with someone, with an animal that you're not compatible with? I can't find the name. Whoever you are, thank you for the question. Great question. We're not saying get rid of them, by the way.
No. It just means it requires work.
Yes. Ain't that the truth?
It requires work. It requires understanding. It requires compromise. So my son, and Joanne, I think I told you this, he's a tiger. And he, his girlfriend, he just got engaged to, is also a tiger. Imagine putting two tigers in a room together. What are they going to do? Fight. One tiger wants to rule.
Dominate.
Right? Yeah. So, but understanding that. So, you know, when you, and I'll
talk. But females dominate, just saying.
I'm not saying the male was dominating in this one.
I mean, as a lion.
These tigers have that tendency.
Or tiger, yeah.
But understanding that and not going into that, it doesn't mean the relationship is a complete bust. It means it's going to require, it's not as effortless as it could be with another animal. It's going to require some work. It's going to require some compromise. Maybe someone just needs to sit back in a scenario, whatever it is. It's just going to require a little bit more of that. So great question on the non-compatible side. The relationship booster. So for me, that animal is the horse. So that's going to help me with relationships, whether it's business, whether it's personal wise. So I have pictures of horse sitting in the south because that's where the animal resides. So, you know, for you, if it was the dog, it would be sitting in the sector of the dog, whatever it may be. The app will tell you what yours is, carry a picture of it, or put that picture in that, it'll tell you where to put it in that sector of the house. And that's to help with your relationships, business and personal wise. So the next tab is the days. So again, quick and easy, just tells you what your good days are and what your challenges and days are. So knowing that, I know Tuesdays energetically a little bit more challenging for me. So again, I go in with a little bit more patience, a little bit more calmness into that day, knowing that that day energetically may be a little bit more challenging for me. And then this one is the last tab under this personality profile is the favorable and unfavorable times. So here, for me, I want to tap into the favorable times. So for me, it's between 1 and 3 a.m., 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. So if I'm going to do anything, if I'm going to sign a contract or do something, I'm going to do it during those times that actually favor me. And I'm going to avoid the times that don't. So when I went through, and another personal example, when I went through my divorce and it was nasty, and when I was filing documents, in my last time that I was doing it, I used these Feng Shui principles to file my applications and do that stuff. Things just went so much more smoother, so much more effortless, because I was just tapping into the energy that was naturally supporting me. So the good months for me tells me my good numbers, tells me my colors and that. So there's just an easy way to tap into the information that's just out there for you, that's energetically supporting you. So this honestly really helped me because I would always forget. So just have my thing open it up. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, this is the time I need to do something. So it's a quick refresher, easy way to do that. So far, so good? Okay. Excellent. So now I want to talk about kind of we talked about the yearly recommendations and you know, how often we change things. So as I mentioned, there's the kind of the ruling element for the year. So this is the yearly recommendation. So what we do is we provide the yearly recommendations for everybody. So in each one of the sectors is an energy profile. So each in the northwest, in the north, each one of these is associated with an element. So if we pick the northeast sector, for instance, we'll say, you know what, in the northeast sector is a good element. It's actually a good energy profile rather. Its element is water. It represents achievement luck. And in order to actually enhance that energy profile that's sitting in that northeast sector, I want to introduce more metal or water elements. And you can go on the SoulRemedi Instagram account and we give you examples of what a water element is, what a metal element is, and you know, I won't get into that here. And you want to keep that sector bright. That's kind of for the overriding annual recommendation. So you can hit any one of these sectors and it'll tell you what you should do in that sector. Remember I said that, you know what, you should also look at this on a monthly basis. So for the month of October, if we pick the northeast sector again, it went from auspicious to inauspicious. So even though the annual energy is water, the monthly energy profile that came in is a negative energy profile, which makes the area this time inauspicious. The combination of those energies makes it inauspicious. So we need to do something else in that sector this time. So now if you download the app now, the November recommendations are out. So in each one of these areas, it will tell you what to do in that area. So again, try to make it easy, try to make it, just simple to apply, go in that sector. You can do this on a global scale, or you can do it by room by room. So, if you have your living room, you split that out into that little, the tic-tac-toe box. And in that northeast sector of that room, you could apply the same thing. Make sense?
Hey, Jazz, quick question for you. Somebody on the chat line is just asking. They registered for the app, and then they went back and they said that it says it's been deactivated. Or
they need to verify their email.
Oh, okay.
They would get an email. They just need to verify it, and then it becomes active.
Thank you.
Yeah. So another thing for me was I would always forget the element cycle, so I just built it into the app. Bring it up. There you go. Easy way to remember which elements support each other, what exhausts each other. So just an easy tab to look into. The next tab that I just kind of want to walk through is the calendar. So here's an easy thing that's in the calendar tapping. So now we're just coming out of Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde was that orange sector there. And for those that know about Mercury retrograde, this was one of the nasty Mercury retrogrades. So what is Mercury retrograde? People always ask me, like, why you always talk about Mercury retrograde, I don't believe in this. And I said, well, you know what? The moon has such an impact on this planet. The sun has such an impact on this planet. If everything is vibrational, everything has an impact. So every other celestial body has an impact on this planet. And so Mercury retrograde, it actually deals with communication. So so during that time, you're going to find that what you would normally say in other times is more prevalent to be misunderstood during that time. So you want to go into Mercury retrograde just being a little bit more understanding, knowing that communication issues will arise, knowing that technological issues will arise, emails or computers will go wonky, that kind of stuff. We do not want to start anything new during Mercury retrograde. It's a good time to reflect, and it's a good time to actually just resolve any issues that may be outstanding, but not to start anything new. So this calendar allows you to plan. It tells you when Mercury retrograde is, so you can plan accordingly. And it tells you when the new moon and the full moon cycles are. So new moon is the black symbol. So think of the new moon, and this isn't you'll find all this stuff in the Farmer's Almanac, so there's nothing that is kind of woohoo. So the new moon is when energy cycles are rising. So this is when you want, so think of planting a seed and using that energy to help that grow. So we're tapping into that new moon. So a couple of days after new moon, plant that seed that you want, that thought that you want, and let it grow with the energy that's coming. So tapping into that. Now the full moon, which is the bright blue moon, moon in the sky, that's when energies are actually dipping, are going down. So just making sure that that's a good time to get rid of things. So if you want to get rid of any things, that's the time to tap into that declining energy. So understanding when those things happen, there's an easy way. Just tap into the calendar. You know what's coming. There's a little description there as to what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And then the relationship compatibility. So this is the one that someone asked a question on. So we've created a little area. It's a fun little area, and you can do this either by the animal sign, or if you don't know their sign, you can do it by their date of birth. Put it up, and it'll tell you whether they're compatible or not. So I've got the rooster and the dragon here, and so when I hit it, it says, that's a great combination. The analytical and brainy rooster will be drawn to the bold and bright personality of the dragon. This pair relies on each other, have recognized what could be an equally advantageous matching of gifts and traits. So this relationship is just harmonious. It works. They get along with each other. It's great. But you're also going to find out that some of these animals don't play along nicely, and where just more work is going to be required. So it's just a fun little area of the app that you can go in. You can test it out with your partner, with your people at work, and then just reflect back. Does it actually make some sense? Kind of the last area that I kind of want to focus on is down below is the spaces tab. So kind of how I equate this, because the first stuff that we talked about is, the directions, which are fairly good, time, day, that suits me, kind of personal stuff and energetically where I should be doing things in the house. This basis section, kind of how I look at it is that Excel is so powerful, but you can use it as just a simple calculator all the way up to doing macros and everything else. This is a powerful tool in this app to actually find out what's going on in your space. So I'm just going to walk through an example. So, and it's relatively intuitive when you're actually in this section of the app. You're basically going to have your floor plans, and it will guide you through taking a picture of it, uploading it. So, the next thing that we want to do is find out where the entrance to this is and find out that facing direction that I talked about before. So once I've done all that, that's in the system, it generates this chart. So you can kind of see the floor map is behind it, and then it's allocated what each of the sectors are. So if you can see this sector here, which is this sector here, that's the wealth sector. My wealth sector in this house is in the toilet. Energetically, this house, from a wealth perspective, my wealth is going down the toilet.
That cannot be.
I know it's not good. So I need to do things in other areas of the house to bolster my wealth sector, because right now, if I do nothing, it's just going down the toilet.
Speaking of wealth, earlier on, I don't know who it is. I apologize for not writing the name down. Someone asked, oh God, I just lost train of thought. Oh my Lord, what's happening?
The question was what do you understand under wealth? What does it mean?
Yes, thank you. Stop reading my mind. Yes.
Wealth is just your income. The income.
So
that you bring in.
You mean finances? Yes. Okay.
Finances, yeah. Simply, in a simple way to say, it's your finance, your income that's coming into your house.
Okay.
So if you can also see here, there's a sector. There's a sector that's missing, right? So this house itself doesn't support the relationship sector. It's actually missing. So remember when I talked my brother's example, his was missing the male sector of the house, the help of friends. This one's missing the female sector of the house and also the relationship sector. So we would need to then look at what else we can do in this condo to kind of bolster that side of it. So this is how we kind of started. We kind of go from here and we go to the, bring it up. We kind of figure this out. Now on the app, you can touch one of these areas and it'll bring up what you need to kind of do in that area. But understand, it's not going to tell you that, you're missing the relationship sector of the house. The app is not that far developed to do that. That would require a lot of AI to do that. Simply, it'll just tell you kind of where it is. Knowing that your wealth sector is in the toilet, then you can come and ask us, say, hey, look, I did my mapping, my wealth sector is in the toilet. What do I do? And then we can kind of help you, assist you with that, or get into a full consultation if we need to.
What if you don't have?
This is a very.
What if you don't have a blueprint of where you live?
Draw it out as best you can.
Draw it out. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very powerful area of the app. Upload it, because when we do personal consultations, we're getting your birthdays and we're starting with your floor plans. That's where we're going, because we need to know energetically. Because remember, your home has its own energetic profile. We need to understand what's happening in your home and how it's supporting you and how it's not supporting you. So that was a lot of information. Some stuff was at the 100,000 foot level, and we went a little bit deeper in that. But question is, where do you start? Like, out of all this stuff, where do you start? If I was going to give you just start small. Just start small. Declutter. First thing recommend to anybody and everybody is declutter. Think of energy. Energy needs to move freely. If the place is cluttered, energy is not going to know where to go. It's going to get confused. So the more it's clear, the more it's open. Get rid of garbage. Keep it clean. Keep it fresh. Keep doors open, windows open when you can. Let the air flow. Let the energy flow. So create that environment so the energy can flow. And you can coax the energy where to go. Energy kind of moves in a clockwise fashion, so you can kind of coax it by putting furniture pieces there. That's why when people think about Feng Shui, they think about putting furniture here or there. We're tapping and we're trying to coax the energy which way to go and what to do and tapping into certain things. But first and foremost, start small, declutter, feel, and then just see how it feels when you declutter your space. You just feel a sense of like, nice calmness. Like walking into that room and it just feels good. You'll get that sense. So what next? So now that you've decluttered and it feels good, what do? Tap into your good directions. Very simple. Just like my son did, he tapped into his great, his good directions, and his, his commissions went up 200 to 300%. So very simple to do. Just go do it. If you don't have an iOS device and whatever, then just shoot me an email and I can kind of give you what your good directions are and bad directions are. Saging has been around for, oh my God, this is tradition has been around for thousands of years as well. So why sage? So before we actually enhance or actually suppress any energy, we actually sage and clear the space. So get some sage, burn it, just use a feather, use something, just allow that sage to, it takes away that toxic energy that's sitting there. Energy can get stale. If it's not moving, it can get stale and it can turn bad. So we actually want to move the energy. So open the windows, open the doors, use some sage, use some incense, just clear that space out. So saging is very, very important to do that. Before we do implement any recommendations, we're saging, we're clearing space. Another good way to do that, think of, when behind the sofa, light can't reach there, the space, the energy, it's dark back there. So, because the light can't get there, the energy can get stale because it's not moving. So another great way to move energy is sound. So think of church bells. When you're at church and the bell is ringing, that you can feel that vibration in you. So use the bell, Tibetan bells, you can buy those ones. You can have, or play music, vibration, because vibration, sound goes everywhere. It's not stopped by, your sofa or something. It's actually going to go by, it's going to find the little nooks and crannies. So every now and then I'm playing music in the house, I'm ringing a bell just to move that energy, because I can't get to every nook and cranny in the house, but playing that bell, that's going to help to move that energy as well, because we don't want that energy to get stale. Still want more? That's not okay. Then start, play with the calendar side. Tap it, know when the new moon is, the full moon is, and tap into the energies of that. Get the an understanding of the recommendations, the annual and October recommendations, so you know what to do in each one of those sectors. Have fun with the relationship compatibility side of it, and then try the spaces out. Try it, but just again, I just want to really just make sure you start small, baby steps. Just when we're starting to learn, if I'm starting to learn Excel, I'm not going to develop a massive spreadsheet. I'm going to start small, get some wins, get some understandings of how it works, and then build and build, get some wins and build and build and build. We're just doing the same thing here.
Question for you. From RC, can one use sage essential oil in a diffuser rather than burning incense?
I do that. I do that all the time, but that's not how I would kind of just clear the space. It's good for keeping the space fresh and stuff, but it's not something I would do to clear the energy. I want to actually move that energy and clear the energy. So I want something that's a little bit more aggressive is not the right word, but a little bit more something that's going to help move that energy. So opening those doors, opening those windows, getting that sage, doing moving it, that's more important.
There's also something very ritualistic when we go through that, and there is almost like a different intention versus just a diffuser.
Yes,
that's how it's presented to me. Obviously, that's just how I see it. But energetically speaking, it feels like it's got more of an oomph, because it's like our relationship with it is one of a ritual that has a specific intent.
Yes, and it's good. It's good that you said it, because when we do that, we actually say a mantra. You can pick your own mantra, whatever it may be. So when you're clearing a space, just close your eyes and say that mantra that you want to say, something that resonates with you to allow. So just connecting exactly what you just said there. So that ritualistic, however that resonates with you, just to move that space and get that through that. So I think the using those diffusers are great to keep a room fresh and just clean and make it smell good, especially washrooms. So if in that case that we had the example where the well sectors in the washroom, we tell you to keep it bright, keep it fresh, keep it clean. So putting a diffuser in so it smells so good. So it does that. We can't eliminate the fact that you well sectors in the washroom, but we can certainly do things to minimize, the downside effects.
What about using crystals?
Oh my God, that's a whole another energy side. But yes, earth elements are crystals. So when we tell you to implement something, the crystals fall under the earth elements. So that's when you'd use the crystals to do that. But yes, crystals are super powerful. There's a whole other energetic science around. I have crystals. I wear crystals. I got a sapphire and emerald that I wear to protect myself and do energetically. And even yourself, when you're doing all this, healing and energy work, having those crystals do, because amethyst is known as a great one to absorb negative energy. So having the right crystals to do the right things are very important, and having them in the right area is also very important. So yes, great use. It's considered one of the earth elements, but in the right space, right time to use it is very important. Still not enough? Okay. Well, you know what? Email me. So jazz@soulremedi.com. And if you put the subject header, Joanna the Healer, as a subject header, then we'll be doing an annual seminar talking about what 2021 is going to look like. 2021, the ruling energy is positive energy this year, so it's way better than 2020. So which is good. So something to look forward to. So if you want to come and join us, we'll do a Zoom session because we won't be able to do an in-person one, but you're more than welcome to come, and you'll get put the subject header in, and you'll get 75% off that annual seminar. And then what do we got? That's it. The questions, and then
so
from me. So I'm going to stop sharing because that is I'm done there, and that's going to bring us back.
All right, so Jazz, we do have some questions that came in along the line. I want to make sure we don't miss them all. So is there any difference if you live in the Southern Hemisphere versus the Northern Hemisphere?
No.
Okay.
Good question.
Are pets affected to the same degree as humans? So this was back when you were talking about the homes and the issues that were in the homes.
Yes, I mean, this is obviously geared towards more the human side of it, but pets are just naturally in tune. They're naturally connected to the energy that's around. We tend to have tons of filters that block out that connection. But yes, are they impacted? Yeah, they are impacted. But if you do the same things of suppress the negative and enhance the positive, the pets are going to get the same benefit.
Is there a book? Do you have a book?
I haven't written a book on this yet. For me, I like this dialogue. Writing a book one day, yes, but having this kind of a dialogue in person and teaching for me, I find is just way more effective for me in having this one-on-one communication. And then this tool of actually helping, because a book is one thing, because when I read a book, I'm also going to put my interpretations into that book. But having an app, so that's why the app was important. It was a simple tool. We made sure that there was nothing that we were recommending in there that someone could implement and then have kind of wacky outcomes. We just made it very safe, very, but easy, just things that you can just tap into and try. Again, start small, have your little wins, build upon those things, and then slowly start to expand into other areas.
Sorry, Joanna, you want to go?
Yes, question. What if the astrology is water and Feng Shui is metal?
Sorry, say that again.
What if in astrology the element is water and in Feng Shui it's metal? Does that make sense, that question?
No, I don't.
Okay. Felicia, could you please rephrase? Just rephrase, darling.
Astrology-wise, they also have elements. How to combine astrology and Feng Shui? What if Feng Shui? What if?
Yeah, hopefully she'll ask again.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe if you just
just rephrase.
There's lots of different. There's numerology out there. There's whole that. Right. We've kind of gone into that as well. I thought about implementing numerology into this and adding another layer. We just got into layers upon layers upon layers. So we wanted to start off really simple. And again, kind of going back to why we chose Feng Shui as a basis. And astrology has a massive part. Master Schuster has a lot of astrology based on a lot of actually, outside of North America, I'll say astrology is very big. Europe and everywhere else, astrology is an important part of it. And so Feng Shui has elements of that in it. We're focusing, in this case, on specific things that we know that people can take and apply in a safe and just fun way. Mm. But yes, there are aspects to it, and there are going to be things. So just like different scientists have different interpretations. Right now you got a bunch of different scientists. Well, let's talk about the environment. In the States, you got a bunch of people, whether climate has an impact or doesn't have an impact, and they're scientists and they have a different conclusion. So you're going to have different philosophies out there, different mechanisms of trying to get to the same space. So that's why for Juan and myself, we spent a lot of time testing, trying and testing, and we found that this was the one that we were getting the results that we were looking for.
Can you just type out in the chat the email address you had on the last slide, just in case people didn't catch it, if they want to get a hold of you, especially because you've got the promo in there. Oops. Don't be shy, guys. Ask questions.
Yeah, so we still have some that got missed.
Oh yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
So what if you're not that interested in making money, just what you need and nothing more?
It's okay. That's what your aspirations are. That's what your intentions are. That's okay. It's just, we don't confuse the words with wealth with like, I need like a whole, wealth is how you define, in that case, what you want, how much of it you want it to be. If you want more and more, and you aspire to have more, that's your intention. Set your intentions, by all means, go and do that. This universe is abundance, and anything that you want is available to you, to me. It's just understanding how to get it. And what Einstein said is, everything has that vibrational element to it, but you need to match the vibration for it to manifest. To the extent whatever you want, just work on it, feel good, match that vibration, and it'll come into your existence. So, you decide, my definition of wealth and what I want is going to be different than Joanna's, and going to be different from someone else, and that's absolutely fine. But what is good to know is that if I need money, a certain level to live off and to have that, but my wealth sector is in the toilet, I need to make sure that I at least fix that or mitigate that, so I'm having what I need to live. I don't want to, no one needs to struggle. And I think that's the part. So using these principles, it's more effortless. It just flows as opposed to, remember I talked about that. You can you can feel like you're doing all the right things, but you're stuck because your environment's not working for you. So understanding how we then tap into it, do it, so it can just be a little bit easier.
Right. And whoever that was made that comment about not making, it's not about the money. This is because this isn't money connected app. This is lifestyle. But what I will say, when you start tapping into energy flow and you are more in the flow, abundance starts flowing. So you may not be focused on abundance, but it comes in as a side effect.
And I think wealth is not necessarily determined by
exactly.
money.
Exactly.
No, it could be, a free coffee that someone gave you. It could be something that a
gift. Yes.
Like it comes in so many different ways. If we only think that wealth comes by money, then we're actually limiting how the universe is going to give us all these gifts.
Right.
So be open to everything. Allow the universe to just give you all that you desire.
Yeah. What I'm also getting, if I may, because I've heard of Feng Shui. I can't say that I understand it beyond what I just learned here, but I understand that the whole universe is made up of frequency. And when we start tapping into frequency, when we actually start tapping to frequency, what we're doing is we're opening up, and we are energetically opening up. So even if someone has never heard of Feng Shui and they go, oh, that's kind of interesting idea, and they kind of follow the little steps in whatever is suggested, what you're actually doing is you are opening yourself up. And when mind becomes open, I always say magic happens. Shit happens too, but magic happens a lot more than SHIT. So I feel these things, whenever we connect with these things and we kind of put our effort into it, it opens us up. Everything is about us being more open. Let's face it. That's what flow is about. It's being more open to receive. Yes. Whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's whatever form of abundance. To me, abundance is the energy of sustained, not even wealth. It's just abundance of everything. Just,
it's unlimited to anything.
Yeah.
So
speaking of that, if I just may, this is something that I experienced last year. There was a moment, we were on holidays and I was coming from the gym, and as I was coming from the gym and I was walking a bit outside, I had this wave of awareness, as it sometimes hits me. And in that moment, it's like I shifted reality. So I was in both realities at once, and I was in a real human reality. And then I was in this other reality where I knew with every single ounce of my being that everything we ever want is always around us, always in an energetic form. And the only reason, and I knew that understanding came to me, and the only reason why I was not able to experience it is because my limited belief.
Correct.
And it lasted maybe a few seconds, but it was, I'll never forget that, because it was like in my body. It wasn't just the head. So I just kind of want to throw it out there.
Yeah, so
Abundance, yeah.
Beliefs are just reoccurring thoughts.
Yeah.
It's the same thoughts that we have. So I have certain beliefs because it's just the same thought that keeps coming up. So if I want to have a different experience, I need to have a different thought pattern.
Yeah.
I need to have a different belief system. So I get to choose. The most powerful moment is right now, because it's the thoughts that I'm having is what's going to create my, what's coming to me. My past is done. Where I'm at is because of my past, but my future is all dictated by how I feel and that emotion that I want to receive and my thoughts that I'm having. So now's that time. And if I want to have something different, I need to create a new narrative.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Couple more questions. So we know it's only available on iPhone right now. Do you know, can it be downloaded on like an Apple computer or other Apple products?
It can be, and if you can download, I think that's a good question. Let me follow up and I'll get back and if there's a way, Wendy, that we can respond back, I'll find out. I'll ask the developer if there's a way to do that.
Okay,
it's a
great.
technical question beyond my expertise level, but I will certainly find out.
And then can you clarify the offer again? It was the last slide that you showed.
Yeah, so there's the annual seminar that we do. So this is, which talks about what's happening in, where we're becoming in 2021. So that, depending upon the audience, it's somewhere around, I think like $100 to $125 is what it is per participant for that annual seminar. So that's the seminar, that's the annual seminar, which is different. The app itself, for the most part, what I showed you was free. So there's a free portion of the app, and then there's a paid portion of the app. And the paid portion of the app is the, I kind of say it costs you less than 2 coffees a month for the paid portion of the app. And that allows you to have unlimited spaces. So as I told you, that part of the app that is super powerful, which is the spaces, it allows you to have unlimited spaces. Under the free version, you're limited to 3 because it takes up a lot of space and data for it to do that. And then under the paid version of the app, you're going to get the monthly recommendations, whereas under the free version, it's only the annual recommendations. So there is that paid version of the app, but for the most part, all the other stuff, your directions, your personality profile, who you're compatible with, that's all free. That's all included in there.
Question came in. Is there an energetic rate things settle into, or is it always in flux?
Well, energy is always moving. So it's always constantly moving. So we're just trying to understand through these principles where they're at, so we can tap into them. So just if I know that this month, so there's 3 areas that are kind of, there's the north, the south, and the east this year that are afflicted with bad energy. So generally speaking, we want to avoid those areas. But if you don't know, you wouldn't know. Some people may be spending a ton amount of time in the south, or maybe the bedrooms are in the south of the house and they're just going to be having issues. But if you don't know, you don't know. So we're trying to provide this information so it's readily available for you, and then you can just adjust your patterns as you go and plan a little bit as you go through your months. So you can just tap into that good energy that's sitting right there.
Question about the angel animal that caught my eye, because what is it called?
Secret angel.
Secret angel. Mm-hmm. So I would say majority of people who are here will know the idea of a spirit animal, right? Most people would. Mm-hmm. So what if we have different kinds of animals? How do we know which one is that particular one? And to follow up with that, it's common, but also a question to you. In the last few months, probably about 6 months ago, I started to get a visual of a red dragon in my belly.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And every so often, so when you talked about, I thought, okay, that's a new occurrence for me. And it's interesting that it happens to be dragon and it happens to be red.
Yes. So, I can't speak to that particular thing. I suppose that vision that you're getting, this is probably, maybe that's a little bit more personal, I think, in this case. But the app will tell you, for every individual that signs up, it'll tell you in there who your secret angel is. So for me, it happens to be a dragon. For you, it'll be a different animal. So
the app will tell you.
Yeah. So all of those things
okay.
in the blue section of the app is personalized for you.
Got it.
So it's all tailored towards you.
Got it. Does it help to study higher consciousness level? Yes, always.
Yeah, anything that you can study. For me, I call this the ripple effect. So anything that I can teach, the reach that you actually have is 1,000 people. That's, through studies and everything. So if I can teach something to someone else, even if they take one sliver away from it, they're going to tell someone else, and that reaches about 1,000 people through studies. So yeah, absolutely. Study, find something that resonates with you. Education in organizations now is just so important. It's a fundamental concept and core component and it should be a core value of every organization, just taking time out. And I mentioned Mind Valley before, and that's a great place that has great thought leaders. It does master classes on certain things, 15 minutes a day, and you just learn something new, read some books. And but yeah, absolutely tap into wherever you can read or do some podcasts or audiobooks, whatever kind of, in the car. I would play Mind Valley in the car for me, or Abraham Hicks is the big thing I love. I just play it every time I can. I try and learn anything I can and incorporate it into my life.
I've noticed with me, especially, once in a while, it's actually more than once in a while, every so often, certain videos will appear and they'll kind of drive my attention. And it's like at that moment, needing to hear what that is, and that energy usually stays with me for a while, and then I move on to something else. And I've noticed that there is this pattern. Like right now, the Hermetic teachings are coming to me, and I cannot get enough. It's like it's my body just absorbs it. A year ago or 6 months ago, I didn't even hear of the word. And that's principle of that is all about frequency. So again,
it's going to come. It's going to be presented. And as I mentioned before, the universe is going to give you hints. It's going to give you all these things, and you just, if you're tapped into it, you'll find it, and you'll be able to just, and then just keep going and going, and then your inner being, your source, will tell you when you need to move on to something else, because it knows.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? How are we doing? Okay, so somebody's saying here, Felicia, Joanna, I have to leave soon. You mentioned you're going to do some announcement, which I will miss. You're not going to miss because I'm going to say it now. So for those of you who are here, thank you for sticking for so long. I said at the beginning that this is going to give us an opportunity to test drive this platform. I've been hinting at doing this new project. Every time I'm ready to release it, I realize, oh shit, it's not quite ready yet. So there's few of you listening here, so you're going to have the first knowing. I am in a very short order about to release a membership platform where I will be doing this on a regular basis. So I tried YouTube lives. I didn't like it. There was not enough. There's not enough back and forth, and I want to have that the ability to do that. I can't do that with one-on-one clients as much as I would like, obviously, because I'm limited to one person. So this is where the universe and my team is not so gently anymore, pushing me in that direction. So that's going to come about in about a month or so. So if you're enjoying this platform, and if you enjoy this kind of way of connecting with me, which is more interactive than just on YouTube. And on YouTube, well, apparently I'm limiting the information that flows through, probably for various reasons. One of them is just, well, it's on YouTube. So this is going to be a private platform where we'll be able to give you a lot more information and a lot deeper information. So if you enjoy that, stay tuned. That's that.
Right. So well, I hope you guys found this informative, and
yes,
if you just walk away with a different perspective. Great. And then just, in life, just try little things, baby steps, and get some wins. So thank you very much. It bless you all.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and see you soon, guys. Much love. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Johnny, you may want to stop recording.